Hi folks, I'm Nathan with Two Guys in a Ride, and welcome to our how-to video on the 2023 Buick Enclave, and this is the Avenir trim level. Today I'll be covering the driver's information and infotainment screens. I'll do a general overview, show you how to access information, and do a deep dive. Let's get started.
Today we're working with our friends at Snell Motors in beautiful Mankato, Minnesota.
All right, so on this half digital, half analog driver's information screen, the part that you can configure, of course, is in the middle. Now, over on the far left, you've got, of course, an analog RPM gauge, and then you've got a digital engine temperature gauge. You've got the digital area in the middle that you can configure, and then on the far right, you have got a digital volt gauge, and then, of course, gas gauge, and then an engine temp gauge, and both of those last two are analog. Now, to control the driver's information that's configurable, you're going to use these two arrow buttons, and then you're going to use this scroll or rotary knob up and down, and then you can push it to click OK or to reset something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by going left here, and you're going to see a little page show up. So you've got info, audio, navigation, phone, and of course settings. So we're going to start with info, and that's when you click on that, this is what shows up in the middle of your speedometer. So if I use the rotary knob here now, you can see there's a little blue dots on either side of the screen. And I'm going to go down to the very bottom, last one. That's a blank screen, or we sometimes call that a calm screen, if you just want to get rid of a bunch of information. If I go up one, of course, you're going to get the sort of the off-road gauges, right? And then you're going to go up one more. You're going to get engine temp and then oil temperature all in one picture. Go up again, you get a timer. And if you want to, I'll go back to time. If you want to do the timer, if you just click this button here, it starts. Click it again, it stops. Okay, and then if I click it again, so I stop it, and then I click and hold, that's when it resets. Okay, so that's all done from here. Go up another one here. You got air filter life, you've got tire pressure monitoring system, you've got remaining oil life, you got your fuel range, instant fuel economy, trip B, which also gives you your average fuel economy and your average speed, and trip A, same information. And then the last one is your digital speedometer. Okay, that's under info. So I'm going to go left again, and I'm going to go down to media. So I'll go down here. Because this is in demo mode, I'm not going to be able to show you exactly what we're here, but typically your sources are going to appear. So you're going to be able to select between, AM, FM, Sirius XM, Bluetooth, that kind of stuff. All right, we're going to go back left again, and we're going to go down to navigation. Now, currently, it's this is again in demo mode. So, but this would either give you a compass, or it would give you turn-by-turn directions if you had a course plotted in navigation. Okay, we're going to go left again. I'm going to go down to phone. I don't have a phone connected, but if I did, this is where your call information would show up. So, to hang up a phone call, to make a phone call, to dial a certain number, all that would show up there. Okay, I'm going to go over left one, and I'm going to go to settings. Okay, on the first screen, it shows you that traction control is on as well as stability. If you look on the far right of the speedometer, you're going to notice a little white arrow. That tells you that there's something more you can do. And indeed, if I press here, you're going to see that this is where we can control this. So we can say traction off or traction on. If I click on traction off, it's going to show the traction controls off. Go back here, go to traction on. I can set that. Now, as far as stability goes, if I go here and I click, I can turn stability off or on. So that's all right there. Now I'm going to hit left again one more time, get me back to this screen. All right, here we go to units. Now again, because I have that arrow on the right, I can go in here and I can change between US and metric. You just click on it to set it. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go down one. Sport. That's the display theme that we're seeing. So if I go to the right, I can change between sport or touring. So let's go to touring for a minute. And you're going to notice I get a whole different screen here. So it takes out the speedometer in the middle, puts it at the top, and then puts all your information, you know, kind of right there in the middle. So I'm going to go back here for a minute just to go, let's see, let's go right. And we're going to change it back to sport just so we have some continuity here. All right, I'm going to go down one. All right, info pages. So at the, if I go left and I go all the way up, this is the pages that we're adjusting right here. Okay, so if I go down, I'm going to go back into here. And it says 11 of 15 pages. So if I click the right arrow, I can now decide which of the 15 I want to show. So for instance, right now I don't have speed limit signs on, so I can turn those. Following distance isn't on. I'll turn that on. Economy trend, and I think fuel economy. Yep. Now, equally, I can say, well, I don't want off-road gauges. And you just click here, it takes the check mark off, means it's off. Okay, I'm going to go back here a minute just to show you that. Go up to info. And now you're going to see those pages that I added. Okay, so let's go down here. We're going to have to find them. There's the speed limit sign. Following distance. So you can see that I've added those. There's the economy trend. So that is where you add or take away those different options. But you can have all of 15 showing, which I think is cool. Down one again, speed warning. If I do a right click, I can enable that. If I can enable that, what it's going to do is warn me. It's going to read the speed limit sign, and then it's going to warn me if I am so many miles over, or what I can set that. If I can say I'm right at 55, that's what I want to warn me. Well, if I go 56, it's going to warn me. But I can raise that number if I want, or I can lower the number if I want. I'm just going to go back here. I'm going to disable that. All right, let's go down another one. Okay, if you want to take a look at software information, you can take a look at that. Down one more. And this is where we can control the heads-up display, which is really cool. Now, a heads-up display is often referred to as a HUD. And typically, they're going to have controls on the left-hand side, somewhere just below the dashboard. And I can raise or lower the whole entire HUD. I can change the information, or I can brighten or dim the screen. All of which are nice adjustments to have right at your fingertips without having to go into the screen here. However, if I push the right button here, I can now rotate the HUD to make it look straight for me. Right? Which is, I love that. Not everyone includes a rotating feature, and I like that. All right. So I'm going to go down one more, and we are back to traction control and stability. So that's it for the driver's information screen. Next, we're going to move over to the infotainment screen. All right, so the infotainment system is an 8-inch screen. This is not Google built in on this particular vehicle yet, but it is it's a very nice system. So basically, on the outside, you've got some buttons that really have nothing to do with the infotainment screen, which is interesting, but this is your auto start stop defeat button. This is your all-wheel drive on or off button. This changes between the driving modes. This is your lane keeping assist, your parking assist, and of course your hazards. So the screen itself, down here you're going to have a dedicated home button that's always going to be there. One push will bring you to the icon screen. Another push will bring you to the split screen. Okay, you can also swipe to the right to get that split screen. And then you can swipe right to see the rest of the icons and the apps that are available. These down here are shortcuts. So this is shortcut to media, phone, navigation, and climate. Okay, and the only thing that the climate doesn't have on it physically is the sync button. So if you want to sync the two temperatures, you'll have to go in there, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But what we're going to do is we're going to start with audio. So right here, if I go into audio, you've got your sources on the left. So I've got AM radio, FM radio, Sirius XM, and if I want to see more, then I can click here. Now you've got Bluetooth. I've also got Apple CarPlay, wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto as well. And you can plug in a USB if you want. So most common questions are, how do I tune and how do I set a favorite? So in FM, AM, and Sirius XM is going to look almost identical. Sirius XM will have a few more things, but basically to tune, if I click here, it's going to scan to the next available station and then stop and play. If I want to tune manually, I can go in here and I can punch in a radio station. And then I can say, yep, there it is right there. Okay, I can make that a favorite if I want, right there with that star, or uncheck it. Okay, and if I go back here, I'm on 106.5. Okay, if I want to make it a favorite, how do I do it? Well, pick your radio station and press this, and now it's saved up here. Let's take a look at sound. If you want to adjust sound, you got your equalizer right here. You can just scroll up or down, or you can use the arrows if you want. Okay, you want to look at fade and balance, same kind of thing. You can just drag it around, or you can actually use the arrows. Okay, let's go backwards. So that's FM. Now, if I go to AM, you're going to notice it looks exactly the same, and it works exactly the same way. Okay, and if I go to Sirius XM, it's exactly the same thing, only you have a few more things. Like you have channel buttons instead of the skip forward, skip backwards to change radio stations. You've got a play pause button because some of the stuff you listen to is live. Okay, you got a skip forward, skip backwards button. If I go to browse, instead of seeing favorites, you're going to see categories. If you want to tune directly, you can go right into there, and it works the same as the FM radio does. So that's media. Okay, let's go to home. And just we're talking about phone, let's go there. There is no phone connected currently, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to hit connect phone, and then I'll hit add phone. Okay, now I'm going to look in on my phone, and it's going to show under my Bluetooth settings at the very bottom of all my Bluetooth devices. It'll show my Buick. So I click on it, and then it says, is this number the same on your phone as it is on the screen? If it is, press pair. So I'm going to hit pair. And then it says allow contacts and favorites to sync on my phone. I'm clicking don't allow because I don't want my contact information going there. But if you was your car, you would want to do that. You'd want to say allow so that your contacts sync. Now, in this particular screen is kind of an important one. If you want to just use Bluetooth, you would hit disable Apple CarPlay. If you want to use Apple CarPlay, and it would say the same thing for Android Auto, you want to hit continue. I'm going to hit continue because Apple CarPlay or Android Auto is so much better than Bluetooth. Now on my phone, because I have an iPhone, it comes back and says, do you want to allow Apple CarPlay while your phone is off and locked? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to click that. Now I can shut my phone off, put it down, and I'm not going to allow it to check for, oh, yep, there we go. There we go. So Apple CarPlay, this is what it's going to look like when you click on your phone icon. It's not going to bring you to just a phone screen. It brings you all the way to Apple CarPlay, but it does put you in the phone screen. Okay, so don't get confused if that happens. Why is it pulling up Apple CarPlay? Well, that's what it does. All right, here's how Apple CarPlay works. Your most commonly used icons are going to show up on the left, and there's always 3 of them. It has these little dots will do 2 things. One press will bring you to the icon screen, or the app screen, I call it, where you can swipe back and forth and see all of the apps that will work on this car system. If you press it again, you get a split screen. Now, this seems to be an Apple CarPlay thing and doesn't show up on an Android Auto device. So if you're an Apple user, there you go. You got one benefit there. So you got navigation, and it will show up whatever navigation you last used. A home button, if you've got home programmed in your navigation, you just click that and it will program your route. You've got media, and you got just the basic buttons, play or skip to the next song. Okay, now it's going to take it a minute to go to the next song, but it's just basic controls for your media, so you don't have to go into it. Now, should you want to actually go into a full screen of any of these, you can just hit on that, and now you get the full screen of the media. And this is coming off of Apple Music right now. Okay, so let's just take a look quickly at some of the different things that I have on there. For instance, you got news, Apple Music, Apple Maps, messages, audiobooks if you like listening to those, a couple different navigation systems, Google Maps, Pandora. So you've got, any of the apps from your phone that will work and Apple CarPlay show up. The nice thing is you don't have to touch your phone. Okay, the other nice thing you can do is you can use Siri, or you can use Hey Google if you have an Android. So for instance, I went into my phone and I changed the Hey Siri settings so that it would wake up on command. Now you see it's already waking up. And the whole idea of this is to keep your eyes on the road. So if you're driving and let's say you want to plot a course to the closest Dairy Queen. Hey Siri, navigate to the closest Dairy Queen.
One possibility is Dairy Queen on Adams Street in Mankato. Less than a half mile to your east and it gets 3 stars on Yelp. Is that the one you're looking for?
Yes. Yes.
Getting directions to Dairy Queen.
And then you have to reach over and press go. I wish they'd give you the option just to say go or it would go automatically, but there you go. So you've programmed in a route and you haven't even had to touch the screen except for once. Okay, so that is just really, really cool. Now, if you want to end the route, you can just say, tell Siri to do that, or your Google Assistant, or you can just click on the screen. Let's go back to the home button right here. And let's talk about the built-in navigation, because this does have built-in navigation. So the easiest way to program an address is not to click up here. You can actually take the time to type in an address, but I'm going to show you what's even easier. So I'm just going to click this. What I'm going to use is the voice command button on the steering wheel, and I'm just going to click it once and let it go.
What would you like?
Find the closest McDonald's.
Okay. Searching for McDonald's nearby. I'm finding more than one match. Because it may take you a while to choose, please do so manually from the display.
Click on it, click go, and there you are.
Please proceed to the highlighted road.
But that's a lot quicker than trying to type it in, especially if you're driving. Few other things about the navigation here. These 3 dots here let you make settings in your navigation. Now this is really a one-time deal. Once you set this up, you probably will never touch it again. But it's worth taking 10 minutes to go through. Here you can say, what do you want to show on the map automatically no matter where you are? Do you always want to know where fuel things are or restaurants? Let's just click one of them. Go back to the map. All right, so when I zoom in, you're going to notice all these little icons popping up. Okay, so restaurants are here, fuel's here. And the nice thing about these is that, let's say you're driving along your route here. You go, oof, I need fuel right now. Okay, click on it. It's going to tell you what it is. Click it again, add to trip. And so it's not canceling your navigation route. It's going to take you on a detour to get to the gas station. So that is where that comes in really nice.
Guidance is now finished.
Now, if I go back up here and I can edit my destinations if I have something saved. That's where I'm going to edit it. And then lastly, if I go in here, I can say map preferences. Do I want 3D landmarks, 3D buildings, show terrain in 3D, auto zoom? I would definitely suggest you leave auto zoom on. Okay, and what auto zoom is, as you slow down, the navigation map magnifies to show you the exact road. And then when you get going again and you've got a mile or 2 to go, it shrinks back and gives you more of an overall view, and it does that automatically. If you click that off, the map is going to stay the same no matter if you're turning or driving on a 60-mile stretch of road. So I would suggest definitely leaving that on. These, your preference. All right, route preferences. Preferred route. Do I always want the fastest route or the most eco-friendly? You decide. Avoid on your route. Unpaved roads, carpool lanes, ferries, highways, toll roads, tunnels, and country borders. So, You can click all those if you want to avoid that. That way when you program into the navigation on the car system, it won't take you on any roads that are unpaved or carpool lanes, etc. Those are just some of the basic settings that you can make on your navigation. Now, when that route is plotted, you can actually look at traffic things right here. And if you want to see, you can click on them and it'll show you right where it is. So let's go back to the home button. That's the basics of navigation. Rear climate. This vehicle has rear climate, so it's got tri-zone control. So if I go here, I can set the temperature. I can also, see there, Rob's in the back there adjusting the temperature. Either that or I've got a ghost setting. Either way, or he's going to roast out, one of the two. Okay, but you can control it up here. So if you got kids, the idea is, you can do that. Now, I can also switch to the front, and now I can control the front. The one thing I want to point out is you do have a lock feature. So if I do not like Rob changing the temperature, I can lock him out and freeze him out. Right? I'll be nice and I won't do that. But if you have kids back there, you don't want them monkeying with it. Then this is a great thing to have. Or you have passengers right in the back that aren't familiar with rear climate control systems, and it's just easier for you to lock them out so you can control it either way. But it's a nice system. Now the only thing that the climate control buttons, the physical buttons, don't have is that sync button. Okay, so now it's synced with mine. So I'll be nice and I'll raise my temperature to match what he had. Okay. So that's front and rear. Okay, let's go to the home button here. You can set up driver profiles. You have to hit this button to create it for vehicle drivers. But the nice thing is, it'll sense your key fob. You get in, start the car. It'll bring up your radio presets. It'll bring up your favorites, safe things in navigation. It'll adjust your seat. It'll adjust the steering wheel. All that stuff just for you based on the key fob if you have a driver's profile set up. Okay? And that's where you would start that process. I'm going to scroll over. Let's talk about the camera. Boy, I tell you, this has an incredible camera. So you've got the 360 view right here, and then you've got the single camera view here. So right now, this is the front camera because we're pointing at a wall. If I click here, I get the rear camera. Now, if I go, let's go back to the back one again, and let's look at, if I want a top-down view from the back, I can see that. I still get the dynamic swivel guidelines. The gray are my back tires, the yellow are my front tires. Shows me where they're going to go. If I click on the front view, I obviously don't get any dynamic guidelines right there. Okay, but I can see them in my bird's eye view right here. Over here, I get my front right tire, front right and front left tire. And you get your rear left and your rear right tire. If you want a hitch view, you can get that right there. So I'm going to go back to here for a minute. I'm going to go forward. Now, hit the back one. If you want to get rid of the guidelines, you can click here. It'll give you trailer hitch view. Okay. Now, if I don't want the 360 view, I can get rid of that and have a bigger screen. Okay. Of course, you can set up the My Buick app if you want. So what we're going to do right here, though, is we're going to go back here, and we're going to go to settings. All right. So you got 3 columns up here. You've got system, apps in the car. For instance, you can turn Android Auto off if I didn't want that, or Apple CarPlay. Okay. And you can look at vehicle information here. So let's start with system. First of all, you can set the time and date. Although typically you can just click on the time and date right there and it brings you to the same screen. All right, you can change the language there and just click on the one that you want. You can look at phones, Wi-Fi networks, Wi-Fi hotspot, privacy, sounds, date, maximum startup volume. So when you start up your car, this kind of says this will be the volume that your radio's set to. So always be that loud. You can change that right here by turning that down. If you want absolutely no volume on startup, okay, you can do that. Or you can increase it, either way. Audible touch feedback, that's the beep on the screen when you touch different things. If you like that, you can turn that on. I kind of like it off. Display, okay, this is where you set the mode for the screen. If you leave it on auto, then during the day, the screen will be brighter, and at night it will be dimmer. If you don't like that, you want always brighter, switch it to day. If you don't like that and you want always darker, switch it to night. Most people just leave it on auto. You could turn the display off if you want, and then you can just tap it to bring it back on or press one of the buttons. All right, this does have over-the-air updates. However, it's interesting to note that if you're going to do the update, you need to be stopped. You can download the update, but if you're going to install it, the vehicle won't move. So you'll have to remember to do an update. Like, you can download it anytime, but the actual update has to take place when you're stopped. You know, and I'd imagine most of them don't take so long. So if you're at a gas station or something, you could, probably do it then while you're filling or at home. Okay, here's where you can set some preferences. You can download new updates in the background. Notice it doesn't say download and install, just download. Okay, if that's checked off, you'll have to manually go down and check for download updates. If that's on, it'll automatically download it but won't install it. You'll have to tell it to install because, again, the vehicle has to be stopped. All right, let's take a look at apps. Told you about Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. You can look at the audio app. You can manage the devices if you want. You can click on information here. You can say, I want this phone to be the first to connect when we are both in the car. When you've got the secondary phone. Do you want to allow Bluetooth connection alongside the other phone? You can say yes. Okay, use Apple CarPlay when the phone is connected on or off. You can also tell it to forget a phone or disconnect. Okay, if you're going to sell a car, you want to tell it to forget the phone. All right, let's just go back. Let's go jump over to the vehicle for a minute. Rear seat reminder, of course, just when you shut off the car. If that's on, it reminds you to check the rear seat. Collision detection systems. Here's where you can set a lot of your safety systems. So they all work the same way, but basically, let's say, let's take a forward collision system. You can say, I don't want that on at all. If I'm going to crash, I'm just going to crash. Or you can say, well, I would like an alert before I do that. Or you can be smart and say alert and brake, and then the vehicle will not only alert you, but it'll also brake for you. Okay? Doesn't mean you shouldn't brake as well, but it's going to, if you absolutely don't, it's going to, in an emergency, brake for you. Front pedestrian detection. Again, off alert or alert and brake. You decide. I'd recommend you leave that on alert and brake. Adaptive Cruise Go Notifier. If you have Adaptive Cruise set and you come to a stop in traffic, it will alert you when the car in front of you moves. Okay? So you can turn that off or on. Personally, I find that kind of annoying, so I leave it off. But if you like that because you're like busy looking around, then that's a good thing to have. Lane change alert is an on or off. And then rear pedestrian detection. It doesn't brake for you in reverse if it detects a pedestrian, but it will alert you, or you can turn that off. Okay, so those are the basics of your collision detection systems. Let's take a look at seating position. Okay, so I would suggest you turn both of these on. And what it's going to do, once you program your seats, you have two-person programmable seats here. So what it does is when you get in the car, it's going to pull the seat all the way back as far as it can go to allow you more space to get in the vehicle. But once you start the vehicle, it'll sense which key fob is starting it, and it will pull your seat back into the position you had it set. Okay, so I'd recommend leaving both those on once you get everything set in the car. All right, let's just see. Remote lock and unlock. I won't go through all these, but you'll be able to this is where they are. What do you want the car to do when you hit unlock? You want it to flash lights or not? If you don't, click off. Driver door unlock. When I hit the remote, do I want all doors to unlock or just the driver's door? So this is where you can make a lot of those basic decisions. But if you go in here, they give you a good description of what's going on. And you can say, do I want that on or off? That's all the system, that's apps, and that's vehicle, and that's the end of the list. But this is where you make all the basic settings. And again, folks, it's really a one-time deal. You set the settings once, and then you pretty much will never touch it again. All right, so that's it on the driver's information screen and the infotainment screen on the 2023 Buick Enclave. And again, this is the Avenir trim level. We hope this has been helpful. Thanks for watching.